Well, former President Trump's delay tactic doesn't seem to be working in his New York hush money case. Judge Juan Merchan yesterday rejecting Trump's motion to delay the trial until the Supreme Court hears his presidential immunity claim, meaning the trial will start in just 11 days. And joining us now, MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin and criminal defense attorney and NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos. Guys, thanks for being here. So, Lisa, this was one of Trump's last-ditch efforts to try to delay this trial. What's the judge saying about why it's a no-go?
It's a no-go, Anna, principally because it's late. He's basically saying you have known that you might have had grounds for a presidential immunity motion for many, many months. And not only did you not do it by the statutory deadline for pretrial motions, but at various other junctures in the case when you could have raised it, you didn't do it then. You didn't even do it within a number of days after the Supreme Court granted cert in the presidential immunity question in the case before Judge Chutkan. You waited even 8 days after that. So this is being rejected as untimely. But the judge notes this is yet one of many attempts to delay the start date of the trial. And he takes a little bit of a swipe at the defense about that, noting this is not exactly the first time they've tried something like this.
And so, Danny, jury selection's about to get underway in about a week and a half. Let's talk about that, because this is the first time a former president has been tried in a criminal setting. A survey conducted by Trump's legal team found that here in Manhattan, 67% of respondents said that they could set aside their opinions and decide a verdict solely based on the evidence of the trial. It is hard to believe somebody wouldn't have an opinion, right, about Donald Trump. So how do you see the jury selection process going, and how are they going to get at whether people are open-minded?
Ever since the Supreme Court case of Shepard v. Maxwell, which was deep into the last century, it's so old it gave us the TV series The Fugitive, which is very old, and even the movie The Fugitive, which is now pretty old too. But the point is this: it created a kind of a paradox.
Great movie, by the way.
And right, exactly. It created a paradox in that, in theory, a trial can have so much negative pretrial publicity that it can create an atmosphere of a circus and deny a defendant the right to a fair trial. But the problem with that is, theoretically, that means that an infamous enough defendant might not be able to have a fair trial at all. And that can't possibly be the case. You can't have a defendant that's just so well known and so polarizing that you can't put him on trial. And yet that's really what the Trump team is trying to argue. That's why these motions under Shepard v. Maxwell that claim, hey, pretrial publicity is just too much, they rarely win. And they even more rarely result in the dismissal of an indictment. So, yes, this is a long shot. As a defense attorney, you're sort of duty bound to make long shot motions because you got to make a record, and you never know what an appellate court will do for you. And particularly with Trump, there's one appellate court that he probably feels he can count on for a lot of these issues, and that might be the Supreme Court. But jury selection here is going to be really, really challenging. And New York has actually a very interesting procedure that's very different from the federal courts, where the judges are almost completely in charge of jury selection. New York, I mean, the attorneys kind of get to meet the jurors and arguably even pitch their case in person directly to the jury pool in a giant courtroom with everybody listening. So it's going to be a really interesting thing to see how the judge controls jury selection in this case and how long it lasts, whether it's going to be weeks and weeks or even months.
It could be. You're right. That's something we hadn't really talked much about. It could be weeks. So set your expectations accordingly. Lisa, we do know some of the witnesses the prosecution plans to call. We've talked a lot about Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen. We know that they've met with prosecutors for the prep sessions. We've also learned Karen McDougal and Hope Hicks may be witnesses for the prosecution as well. Talk to us about how these prep sessions might work, and which of these testimonies will you be most anxious to watch?
I'm really anxious to watch what I would call sort of the twin poles of Trump world, which is Michael Cohen, once very, very close to Donald Trump and now his sworn enemy on one hand, and Hope Hicks on the other. Nobody was closer to Donald Trump. Nobody channeled and calmed Donald Trump better than Hope Hicks. But I'm interested in watching both of them, because when we talk about evidence of what what the DA's office says happened here, right? We're not so interested, although they have to show that there was the payment to Stormy Daniels. The actual alleged crime here is the cover-up. It's the way in which the repayments to Michael Cohen were papered in 2017, not so much the settlement in the first instance. That said, I'm really interested in hearing both Michael Cohen and Hope Hicks talk about their conversations with the former president to illustrate that he knew full well why Stormy Daniels was being paid off, that it was related to the campaign, and that the repayments to Michael Cohen were in service of hiding that from the American people.
Danny, who are you watching for?
Michael Cohen. Here's everything you really need to know about Michael Cohen. He's going to be the star witness against Donald Trump, and he has credibility issues. No surprise, nothing new. A lot of times the star witnesses against criminal defendants are people who were involved with that criminal defendant in a former life. And in just my experience, the same thing the prosecutors will tell the jury is this, that oftentimes a witness has credibility issues, but, and it'll be some version of this in closing, it takes a criminal to catch a criminal, or these are the friends the defendant chose to hang out with. So, yes, he has credibility issues, but in my experience, jurors are willing to forgive that. They don't expect a saint to come on the stand and have personal knowledge of all the bad things the defendant did.
All right, Danny Savalas, Lisa Rubin, thank you both.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.